So yeah, I feel like the Lord wants me to talk about my dad more. Um, so basically, my dad would just he'd be drinking, but then he'd get sober and he'd be like a whole different person. He'd be like a whole different person and be like, whoa, like, what happened? Like, he'd just clean up and he'd be so put together and he'd like come to my baseball games and he'd cheer me on. And then next thing you know, he'd just be down in the bottle. And I remember just watching him get the shakes, right, and have seizures, and just like how painful that was to watch somebody just be crippled by alcoholism. And and I feel like it's kind of helped me personally not really get so much into drinking. I've had seasons in my life where I really was drinking, um, but the time I've drank most of my adulthood is when I was in relationships with other people drinking. But yeah, he would get cleaned up, um, and I think there just really wasn't much of a fathering in my life, and a big credit I give to God is just really taking over that role in my life. Um, okay. And so my mom was there, and she would take care of me, right? And she was just like basically, making sure that I was fed and we had a place and all that. But I guess emotionally, there was kind of, I don't know, like it wasn't. I think my mom. It's tough to say, um, but you know, um, and yeah, I was taken away when I was younger. So I was taken away and put into foster care when I was really young, and I just remember both of my parents were drinking, and just the police came. They came to the door, and they ended up like knocking on the door, and I just remember my dad just on the toilet, and he was just super drunk. He was just super drunk, and my mom was drunk too, and they were just being wild. And I'm kind of just like running around in my underwear, like 5-year old. And next thing I know, I'm being dragged away, right, by a police officer, and I'm kicking and screaming, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why these things are going on.